We'll have Sid Lowe as well, raising the bar as well when he joins us a little later on to talk about all those comings and goings in Spain. Antoine Griezmann making all the headlines. But we have to start in the Championship in England, the playoffs. In under 4 round, Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds United crash out despite having 22 shots on the night, 8 shots on goal. Derby had just the 5 shots on goal, but boy, didn't they make it count, putting 4 of them in. Derby through to meet Villa in that Wembley final. So, who saw this coming? I mean, after all the drama we've had in the Champions League and the Premier League, I guess it always had to be this way, didn't it?
Well, there was a lot of animosity between the two managers because of the Spygate previously in the season.
Yep.
The first game was a very fraught affair. Leeds got the better of Derby by the 1 goal. And having seen this game, it was played at an intense pace. There was hostility from both sets of fans, hostility amongst the players, as you saw with the sendings off. But in the end, Derby were the more controlled side. And Leeds have been erratic for a long time this season.
Yeah, I think that's the key, particularly towards the end of the season. You know, I think 3 weeks ago, home to Wigan, 1-0 up, playing against 10 men, they got beat 2-1 at home. And from there, the wheels kind of fell off. And Derby County are a free-flowing, free-scoring team. They can score goals home or away. Leeds, well, showed the deficiencies, particularly defensively. And Derby deserved to go through.
With Frank Lampard at the helm, how do you rate the job he's done? Because Derby County have been close, haven't they, for many years to getting back to the promised line.
Earlier on in the season, when people were talking about him taking over the Chelsea job, I sort of put a bit of a dampener on that by saying Derby in the worst position they've been for something like 6 years. Most of the managers got the sack at Derby when they were in the top 6 and the chairman thought they should be in the top 2. So Frank Lampard was given that little bit more leniency, but he's done well with a young side. They haven't had quite so much money to spend. The wage bill isn't quite so high. They've taken a lot of players on loan, and he's got the team playing some very good football, and it's a good performance today.
Leeds, Steve, in your 2 eras, they were a massive club. They're still a sleeping giant. They thought Bielsa was going to perhaps be the man to get them back. They're going to have to wait yet another year.
Well, at one stage, it seemed as though it was just a matter of time. They were flying high at the top of the league. Bielsa could do nothing wrong. And then, as I said earlier, the wheels kind of fell off second part of the season. I just wonder whether Bielsa is going to be around next year. Had Leeds got up, I think absolutely he would have been. Now, this is a guy who kind of just from nowhere decides to up and go. And the fact of this disappointment in this game, I think he might do the same. And then Leeds are going to have to start again.
So it all leads to the game. Leeds, I say. Leads to Wembley. 170 million pound game, they call it. Derby against Villa. It'll be actually Frank Lampard and John Terry's on the coaching staff at Aston Villa. So 2 old Chelsea teammates going.
Don't forget Dean Smith, who came from Brentford to Aston Villa when they weren't doing particularly well. He's changed their fortunes. They play some good football. I think Aston Villa are the favourites going into this. They've had a great run to get into the top 6. They did well against West Bromwich Albion over the 2 games. Just about did enough. This is going to be a good game, but I think Aston Villa will have a bit more nous and a bit more quality.
You see it that way,
I do.
Stevie?
I see the experience, I actually thought West Brom would have beaten Villa because of the experience they had. But no question, Villa has that. Derby, they don't have experience. In a game like this, you need some. They don't have any.
They're very rarely classics, are they? We're supposed to sell it because the final is on ESPN+, but so
we've had some classics, we've had some bad ones.
They have had some good ones.
Yeah, some good ones over the years.
Swindon, Leicester City, I draw your attention to.
You're a Swindon supporter,
4-3, it was a long time ago. It was a very long time ago. Extra time, of course, on our YouTube channel, the place we get to answer all of your questions. Well, not all of them, but most of them. Now, these 2 gentlemen are very much looking forward to journeying to Madrid. They'll be there for the Champions League final. It's someone who is on his way out of Madrid that's been making all the headlines for the last 24 hours. Sid Lowe joins us. Sid, Antoine Griezmann hasn't announced where he's going post-Atlético, but it's Barcelona, isn't it?
Well, that is certainly what everybody is assuming. Of course, this feels like a revival of that deal that didn't happen in the end last year. And I think in a way that Atletico Madrid knew this was coming because it was set up mechanically for this to happen. Remember last year, the reason that he was close to going to Barcelona was because his buyout clause dropped down on the 1st of July last year to 100 million euros, which made him expensive, but very much affordable for a really big club and for a player of that quality. It was basically an invitation for someone to buy him. Well, when he renewed his deal then, he inserted a clause in it which said that his buyout clause this year, on the 1st of July, would come down to 120 million euros. So it's only gone up by 20 million euros. So the possibility of him leaving was still there. They hoped that they could persuade him not to, but they knew Atletico Madrid that he'd say, yes, I'm going, if he didn't have his destination already in place. We know that during the spring he spoke to a number of big European clubs. We know that Barcelona are among them. We know that they're interested. But I guess until this is actually tied up, everybody is going to be cautious, including Barcelona themselves, because last summer Barcelona thought they had him and he ended up phoning up and saying, actually, no, I want to stay at Atletico.
Intriguing. If it is to be Barcelona, Stuart, how do you see this working? How will he mesh with a certain Mr. Messi, for starters?
Well, I can't see him playing as an out-and-out centre forward. I don't think that's his best role. I think he's always been at his best when he's playing for France, when Mbappe's running in behind and he's been the link-up player. In this current Barcelona side, Suarez, I still think, has got a couple of years left, and he could play through the middle. Messi coming in from just behind or from the right-hand side, and Griezmann doing what he did when he first started playing from a slightly wider area and then joining into the central areas. I think that could be a good link-up. It means that defensively there might be a bit of a problem because Griezmann won't want to do too much tracking back of fullbacks, and you don't expect him to. Messi won't do it on the other side, and Suarez will press and do what he tries to do. But as an attacking force, that could be a good combination.
Stevie, do you agree?
Yeah, listen, the guy's a fantastic player, and he's going to join fantastic players. It seems inconceivable. They're obviously going to have to have some trial and error with the way they're going to set up. If Suarez plays right up high, then I don't see why you can't have both Messi and Griezmann underneath him. Or even if Suarez doesn't play, you can still have Griezmann as your centre forward and coming off and have other players going in behind. So, listen, Barcelona have kind of changed their style at different stages over the years. And when you've got a chance to have a guy like Griezmann, if it means just fiddling with the tactics a little bit, then why not?
Sid, we actually haven't had you on since Barcelona crashed out in spectacular fashion of the Champions League against Liverpool. Lots of speculation that this is going to lead to a pretty busy summer, lots of ins and outs for the Catalan Giants. So what do you expect to happen?
Well, some of it, of course, is already happening. They'd already announced the signing of Frenkie de Jong. I think in the next couple of days, we will almost certainly get the announcement of de Ligt as well to join the club. Obviously, most of us are making the assumption, but I must confess we still don't know 100% for sure. But we're making the assumption that Antoine Griezmann is another one of those signings. So you're already talking about 3 players to be signed, an approximate total value of the 3 of them of somewhere in the region of 250, 260 million euros. It's a lot of money, and it is a big reaction to what happened. I think there is a sense as well that other things need to change. There are still question marks about Ernesto Valverde, the coach, and about how they set this up. But I think there's an emotional question as well, which is how Barcelona recover from this emotionally, given that so much of this season was hung on the Champions League. With, Messi vowing at the start of the year that they would do everything that they could to win it. That almost set them up for an environment in which if they didn't win the league, if they won the league and the cup but not the Champions League, it wouldn't feel like enough. And so I think there will need to be some changes, and I think it will be very interesting to see how they react emotionally to this for the start of next season.
Stuart, do you sense this being a team that needs renewal? De Jong and de Ligt being mentioned?
Those two would be absolutely great signings. De Jong we've seen playing for Ajax, playing in just a holding midfield role. He can do both sides of the game. He can pass the ball. He doesn't run forward too much. He can make defensive decisions as well, good defensive decisions. He covers fullbacks. He's an all-round midfield player. And de Ligt, at 19, I think looks a magnificent defender. Again, he's got all the attributes. He's good in the air. He's a good leader. He can play out from the back. He's quick. And he looks to be a good character as well. He's captain of Ajax, and he came back from a terrible start of his international career. He was thrown in at 17 against Bulgaria. They were 2-0 down. Both goals were his fault, and he was taken off at half-time, and he's come back from that.
Those 3 players alone that we're talking about, Griezmann, de Ligt, de Jong, this could be a pretty different-looking Barcelona if that all happened.
Yeah, but a better Barcelona. And a Barcelona side that absolutely romped to winning the league. And a Barcelona side that really should be in the final. They're going to add those 3 players. And it's the timing is right.
But they probably have to lose some to get those 3, won't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're going to be strengthened where we all talk about where the core of your team, the strength of your team should be right up the middle, and the three names we've just spoken about. Plus, you add Messi because he's the guy that's been carrying this team for the last 18 months. So if you can add those 3, then you're a Barcelona that can win the European Cup.
So you brought it up, Stuart. To balance that, who do you see moving out? Rakitic, Vidal, Rafinha, and of course Coutinho is.
Yeah, there's some of the fringe players that have been there for quite a while that you probably want to get out. Coutinho doesn't look as though he's going to make it at Barcelona. Once the crowds start getting onto you as much as they are to Coutinho, it's going to make it very difficult for him. So I think he's probably one of the players that they would try and get money for, but it might be difficult for them to get some of their money back.
It certainly will. Thanks very much, guys, and thanks, Sid. If you ever miss an edition of the show, remember the audio version, our podcast, available every day on iTunes.